भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तपोभिक्षीण पापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते। 20th श्लोका, page 58. Repeat after me. ātmacaitanyamāśritya dehendriyamanodhiyaḥ svakriyārtheṣu vartante sūryālokaṃ yathā janāḥ। So in the last few shlokas, from the 17th shloka onwards, the seriousness or the depth has subtly been shifted, where he says that the entire layer of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya are nothing but layers of matter, and matter by nature is inert, and that inert matter gets enlivened as though endowed with the conscious aspect. As soon as that conscious principle reflects in the subtlest of the organs, which is the buddhi, as soon as the buddhi is touched by that conscious principle, the reflected consciousness immediately identifying from the buddhi layer starts identifying with the rest of the layers, one gross layer after the other, subtlest being the buddhi. Here, there are two concepts that have to be very, very clear. One, that this buddhi and the rest of the organs are jada, and the Chaitanya Tattva is enlivening them. And because of that enliving nature, life expresses forth. Consciousness is not life, it expresses forth. And that pranamaya sharira is one of the grosser ones, though it brings the life breath, it still is not subtle or powerful than the buddhi. When we do pranayama, we are controlling that breath. In some of the serious yogic kriyas, there is a prana bandhana. In Upadesha Sara also we see prana bandhanat liyate manaha. And in this yogic kriyas, when they do the prana bandhana, we see or we have seen several yoga asana kriyas through which it can be for several hours to several days to months, where the prana bandhana is done, though that is not the state of realization, but it only shows that I exist independent of that pranamaya portion. And it is the enlivening agency of that ātmacaitanya and its presence which reflects in the buddhi. Nothing but the entire layers look so lively. How does this happen? Dehendriyamanodhiyaḥ ātmacaitanyamāśritya. Ashraya is the Atmacaitanya. Ashritya vastu, that which is the depending layers, they do not have their own ability to have this spark. That is being borrowed from the Atma Chaitanya. Deha, Indriya, Manaha, Dhiyaha, the body, mind, intellect, including the organs of perception action. Their kriya exists because it is borrowing, because it is in constant touch with the Atma Chaitanya Tattva. The most applicable example here would be, it is the same electricity which expresses forth as the cool conditioned air. That same cool conditioned air is swirled around with the blade movement of the fan. It is the same electricity which is illumining this hall. All of these various expressions are individualistic depending on their individual instrument's capacity, but yet is possible to express only because of the divine blessings of electricity. Without that electricity, there is not this expression. Even within the light illumining objects, there is a 0 watt, there is a 5 watt, there is a 10 watt, there is a 50 watt, there is 500 watts. The wattage is the capacity or the limitation of the instrument and not of the electricity. Because there is a dim light, it doesn't mean electricity is less. Because there is a bright light, it doesn't mean that the electricity is brighter or more powerful. Somebody may be dull, somebody may be smart, somebody may be over smart. That is the expression because of the limitation of the instrument, not the Atma Chaitanya. Atma Chaitanya is illumining all of this royally, impartially. Svakriyārtheṣu, their individual expressions are expressing, and that expression can happen only when there is the touch of that divine, without which there is no expression whatsoever. It is not a possibility. And the example taken is yathā sūryālokaṃ vartante janāḥ. Sūryālokaṃ, not sūryālokaṃ, sūryālokaṃ. Suryasya ālokanam, the illumining nature of that sun. Suryaloka also could have been done, but here there is a specificity when they say sūryālokaṃ. Ālokanam means to illumine. And because of which avalokanam happens, seeing happens. Vartante janāḥ. The entire creation springs forth into action. Now that springing forth to action, whether one is speaking, whether one is listening, whether one is doing good thing, bad thing, it doesn't matter. That is the individual and the individual's capacity which is deciding it. Surya only illumines. In his presence alone, this happens. Without that, it does not. Now here, there is the Sankhya Darshana, not the Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga comes in the Bhagavatam, which is given by Kapilaji to Devahuti, which is cross-referred by Bhagavan in the second chapter, and it is also named as the Sankhya Yoga. Among the Darshana Shastras, which are 6 of them, there is Sankhya Darshana. The confusion happens because that also is called Sankhya, this also is called Sankhya. And many of us have the habit of shortcutting everything. We don't say, are you performing the yogasanas? We say, we make it a verb and we say, are you doing yoga? Somebody came to Chinmaya Mission when I was new in Dallas. He said, Swamiji, do you do yoga in this sessions? I said, with the purity of the word and its context, yes. Next day was Sunday. Back to back we have sessions of Balavihar, and this gentleman comes in the tracksuit with a yoga mat under his arm, and we start with prayers. So he thought, okay, good, we are starting with prayers. So he closes his eyes, joins along, seemed to know all the shlokas that we were chanting. Then his fidgety nature started because his assumed yoga was not being in display. After the whole session started, he huffed and puffed and came to me and said, when is the yoga? I said, we just had. What? That is called Jnana Yoga. Just because you have shortened it, it is, if you have to be specific, it has to be yoga asanas. Similarly, Sankhya, we remove the next word, it leads to lot of confusion. Sankhya Yoga and Sankhya Darshana. Second confusion is, both of those who have proposed it also carry the similar name. One was Avatara of Bhagavan Vishnu, who is the son of Devahuti, who gave the message to Devahuti. That is called Sankhya Yoga. Kapila Muni, a rishi, he gave the Sankhya Darshana. After all this introduction, what does he say? Where does it vary away? He says, Atma Chaitanya and Prakriti are different, which we also say. But he continues to say that Prakriti is independent. all the movements and activity can happen without the Atma Chaitanya. There is no direct or indirect connection with Atma Chaitanya. That confusion has to be removed. Therefore, here he says that all this which is in the layer of matter, they do not matter unless until it is firmly connected with and taking the refuge of Atma Chaitanya. ātmacaitanyamāśritya dehendriyamanodhiyaḥ svakriyārtheṣu vartante. They constantly are engaged in their own fields, depending on the limitation of that particular instrument. Or whatever it can perform, it shall perform only if that Atma Chaitanya is enabling them to perform those. Now the sadhana to be understood. In order to understand, in order to be that Atma Chaitanya, I do not have to stop the traffic of this transactions. Those of them who come from the Western world, when they come to India, they cannot cross the road. They can only if all the traffic is stopped. There is a stop sign, there is a walk sign, and that is when they are conditioned to walk across. Indian traffic is like the realized situation. Wherein you can cross the road in spite of the traffic. You become the controller. So as you cross the road right in the middle of the traffic, you first lock down which car you want to stop, which vehicle you want to stop. And then you shift your attention to the driver. Lock it down and convey it through your, first you convey it through your eyes. Ruk jao. And then to further confirm it, a hand sign, and then you walk across. To walk across, you don't have to have that traffic stop. You just need to know the skill how to maneuver through, which seems to be quite a Herculean task for the conditioned mind from the Western world. In the day-to-day sadhana, yes, we need to sit to disidentify and abide in our true nature in the different Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana process, aided by the puja, japa, dhyana, ityadi. But then to say that quietude or that abidance is only when I am in that position, it is limited by time and space. If I cannot bring that profoundness of experience into my day-to-day life, that the kriya is happening, I do not have to identify with it to make it a karma. Activity is happening. It becomes or translates into an action when there is the ego gets involved. The kriya can happen. But in order to reach there, the abidance has to be very firm. The knowing has to be firm that all these movements of the five layers, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya, happens only in the presence of that enlivened by, endowed by, permitted by that Atma Chaitanya, which is my true nature. What are the different kinds of these activities? That is taken up in the next shloka. Dehendriyaguṇānkarmāṇi amale saccidātmani adhyasyantyavivekena gagane nīlatādivat dehendriyaguṇānkarmāṇi. Sequence. Deha, there is the indriyas, and the indriyas are colored by the gunas. Colored by the gunas, they express in different kinds of activities, actions. Karmani. Then what do we do? Adhyasyanti avivekena. We superimpose all of those actions as that which I the self is doing. Now I the self, is it the big I, the bada I, or the chota I? Chota I, the reflected consciousness. Bada I, the self. The bada is actually neglected. Poor fellow. It is like in the sense of individuality and individual privacy. The child who is growing in your house, your own child, says, this room, who is given that room? You have given that. He says, thou shalt not enter without permission. You should knock before you come. You should, in somebody's house that I had gone, on the room of the child, there was 10 commandments. Thou shalt knock before you come. Thou shalt, after knocking, seek permission to enter. Thou shalt not unleash the commentary on the condition of the room. Always feel good that which you are seeing is the best of its condition. It could have been worse. And it goes on. After reading that, I was like Vismit, I was a little amused. The entire support system to stay there and to live there and to work and experience yourself is being supported by you, the parent, and the parent is pushed out. That is what the Chota I does. The Atma Chaitanya is the one that is enlivening, but then it is taken over by this ego, the Chota I, and then starts claiming that everything that which is happening is my doing. Not only that, it does and claim, it expects others to accept it and respect it also. Maine kiya, I have done. Deha, indriya, guna, karma. Sometimes it is sattvic, purely by mistake. Most of the times, sometimes it happens in a day, and that also leads to a lot of anxiety. I don't know why everything is so calm. It feels like calm before a storm. कुछ तो गड़बड़ होने वाला है. Something wrong is about to happen. We don't even know how to bask in the joy of that calm environment. I can feel it in my gut. It has nothing to do with, because we have never habituated to that. We feel threatened by that calmness. And then we have to somehow fill that calmness. TV chalao, radio chalao, phone call karo. Sometimes all of them simultaneously. Why? Well, I was all alone. I had nothing else to do. It was so calm. So I thought I will call you. My disturbance thrusted on others to say that I am catching up. Deha, indriya, sometimes it is sattvic, sometimes it is rajasic. So most of the times it is rajasic. Constantly we are addicted to be doing something or the other. Doing constantly something is better than being lazy, but that cannot be called as karma yoga. Karma yoga is an attitude, and that attitudinal change has to persist through every single movement. And then when tamas takes over into the rajasic field, we start doing a lot of blunders, lot of mistakes. Mind is tired. While driving, you are driving long distance, it just takes a fraction of a second. Fraction of a second that tamas takes over. Before you realize, the world looks upside down. Not because the world is upside down. You have ended up being upside down. Hopefully, no one else got impacted. Even while, especially while listening to satsanga, one of the greater benefits of satsanga that you bring any insomniac, they will find a lasting relief. With sahana bhavatu, they go deep inside. With purnamadaha, they come outside. Tamas takes over. Must be a very long night, no sleep. As soon as you come into this conditioned environment, and the screaming through the microphone sounds like a lullaby. And then you go into deep sleep. See, first time somebody slept in my satsang, I felt very offended. Only to realize, ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है. This is nothing. When somebody started snoring in my lecture, I said, okay. There are more offensive things than just sleeping and nodding. This is abusing the environment. And then if they come, come one, get one free. And either one of the spouse is also feeling awkward, and then there is that nudge. And when the nudge doesn't work, there is a slight loving pinch. I'm listening. Tamas takes over. So, Indriya Gunani, based on that guna, different kinds of karma that we perform. Though all of this is being done because of the presence of the ātmacaitanya, we superimpose it on the ātmacaitanya as though all of these actions are being done by me, the ahankara. How is this superimposition? Purely out of colossal ignorance, avivekena, without any proper discrimination. Just because we see this experience, we cannot assume that seeing is believing. That is what we use for a very profound logic for various experiences in life. We see that let me take it further into the extension. What is the color of water? It depends which water you are seeing. If it is in Delhi and Yamuna Nadi, you would definitely say there is a color. If it is Gangaji during the rainy season, you will say definitely there is a color. But actually there is no color. If you go into the oceans, I was once for a Balavihar camp in an island called Saint Martin. Usually I don't like to sit in the window seat because of the space issues. It is already a cramped seat, and they say after taking off, now you can relax and push back your chair. It is like half a centimeter. I say that is pushback. And they make a big effort of trying to say, straighten your seat, we have to land. Hai kya wahan pe? Anyway, it is cramped and right near the window it curves. And it is like whole journey like this. It's not comfortable. But I was specifically told to choose the window seat because of a spectacle as you land. It was really a spectacle. White sand beach, and the ocean extends, and you could count about 14-15 different shades of blue. Dark purplish blue to turquoise, and all the shades in between. It was beautiful. And once you get to the beach, you can go almost a mile into the sea, and it is still till the waist level. And there are not that many waves, mild, gentle waves. So standing there 1 mile into the sea, you look around, you can spot all the colors. So beautiful it looks. And you look down, you can clearly see the feet and the surface beneath, and there are corals. Beautiful. Now all these colors that which you are seeing if it is believing. If the seeing is believing, all these colors are being perceived, but the water is colorless. Then where is this color coming from? The reflection of the sky and the proportion of the depth of the sea, surface, the bottom, as it varies, the color reflecting in it, reflecting into the water which is colorless, starts giving you the perception of different shades of. I just gave you a brief description of it as to how beautiful it looks. All that beauty is only perception matra, because it is a borrowed attribute of the color of the sky. Now when you step back and look at the sky itself, does the sky have the color? No, the science says there is no color. That perception is only because of the light particles which get refracted. All the other ranges are sent forth, while the blue color is absorbed by the particles, hence therefore it appears blue. When you are flying, you don't feel like you are penetrating through the blue. If you ever get an opportunity to go out of the space, then you will see that the blueness was only a perception. nīlatādivat, gagane nīlatādivat. Now this sky turning or looking blue, and that blue reflecting in the water, and the water having several shades from deep purple to dark turquoise, all the different shades is only a perception. But we give so much of reality to this perception that the normal understanding is the sky should be blue. Just because we see it, that doesn't mean that it is the actuality. In our regular use, we say the sunrise and the sunset. The sun never rises, the sun never sets. It is we who are going goal, goal, goal. But then instead of saying that the earth has rotated to see the sun, we conveniently put it as the sun has risen, the sun has set. And if you take the pictures from the standpoint of the earth, every day of the year in the same angle that you take the photograph and then time lapse it, you will see the movement of the sun. It will go. Through the year it has moved from this corner to that corner. Which direction is the east? What season is it? Okay. If it is this season, then that corner. If it is in the middle of this season, this side. If it isn't, it comes to that corner. The sun seems to be changing sides because there is an apparent movement. There is no movement in the sun. We are moving, we are oscillating, but we are one with that movement and oscillation that we āpadita, we superimpose it on that which is stationary. So the ātmacaitanya which doesn't have to move because there is nowhere else to go. Wherever it is already there. It is all pervasive. Everything else, that which is moving, is superimposed. And the more elaborately you can superimpose, the more busy we look. And the more busy and elaborate is our superimposition, we define it as success. Look at all the definitions, wherever, whichever field. Āpadita, superimposed, is what we recognize. And we assume that all the movement is I, the ego, which is performing it. Continuing. Why does this all happen? He says, ajñānānmānasopādheḥ kartṛtvādīni cātmani. Kartṛtvādīni cātmani kalpyante'mbugate candre calanādi yathāmbhasaḥ. ajñānānmānasopādheḥ kartṛtvādīni cātmani. The antakarana, there is a avarana, and that avarana is experienced as ignorance. The ignorance is covering our antakarana, and because of this, due to the ignorance, all the movements, kartṛtvādīni, I assume that this is the self which is acting, the self which is doing, the self which is perceiving. kalpyante'mbugate candre calanādi yathāmbhasaḥ. When you see the reflection of the moon in the water, if the water is steady, say it is a river, a ripple-less, still water, the reflection is so crystal clear. But the moment there is not a ripple, but because of the wind movement, there is a sudden heaving and rising of the water, but it is not a wave yet. It is a gentle movement. For a fraction of a second, it feels as though the moon has shifted. The moon has a movement. Yesterday I was giving the train example, and we went out. As we were driving, I was being driven by him, and he turned completely and was talking to me. The bus was actually moving forward, inching forward. As the bus was inching forward, I had to suddenly turn around to some constant to refer to, because the assumption was that he's talking to me, the leg is out of the grip hold on the brake, this car is moving, and where is he looking? Completely turned looking at me. I but only to realize that the movement, the apparent experience of the movement is not of that vehicle that I am in. It is that the other vehicle is moving, and that which is constant appeared to be moving. I experienced it. Though I experience it, the moment my focus shifts to that which is moving, it appears as though I am moving. The moment you bring it back to that which is constant, then you realize that I have always been constant. The movement which I experienced was apparent, and the movement is actually outside, and I have superimposed it. Similarly, the ajñāna, that which is covering right from the subtlest layer of these layers, the panchakosha, right from the antakarana, ajñānānmānasopādheḥ, kartṛtvādīni, I am the doer. See, even if we come to that particular standpoint that I am the doer and leave it at that, I think many of us would be fine. For a very vyavaharik standpoint. But then it doesn't stop there. As soon as I have done something, there is an expectation. Expectation of that which I have done, not even of the result. Expectation of that which I have done, was it received? Was it understood? Was it acknowledged? After being acknowledged, then the next pensive moment is, how was it? See, as a policy living a sannyasi's life, when food is served, it is out of lot of love and dedication that it is being served. I do not comment on the food. However, eat because it is an offering to that Guru Parampara with so much of love. The love is to be appreciated. But then, the one serving will not be satisfied with it. Up until serving, nothing wrong. After serving, the immediate next question, कैसा है स्वामी? When somebody says कैसा है, then it is not very experienced server. What does the experienced server do? They already set you up for the answer. अच्छा है ना? No, anything less than अच्छा, not acceptable. अब बोलना ही पड़ेगा. And it is at a point blank range. The proximity is too close, they are serving, right? And in their hand they have the shastra, not the astra. Karchi ho, jo bhi ho, chimta ho, jo bhi ho. And the question gets repeated. Not physically asking it, but the expression. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, apriyam satyam. Stuff your mouth full. Lift your head in benevolence. And say, अब उसका आप भी जो भी इंटरप्रिटेशन करना हो. One day, one Amma served very lovingly. The first time that she was serving Bhiksha, first Bhiksha of theirs, she assumed that sadhus and sannyasis eat very sattvic food. So there was no salt, no spice, no... And it was like a French food. Bland to the extent that blandness can be taken. And she kept asking this question, कैसे बोलूं मैं? So I said, Amma, your food is like Parabrahma Paramatma. She was happy. I was happy that I didn't have to lie. It's only when she started eating, she started asking for little bit of salt, little bit of achar. I said, Swamiji, इसमें तो कुछ नहीं है. And you said it is Parabrahma Paramatma. I I said, yes, Amma, Parabrahma Paramatma is a Nirguna Nirakara. No guna, no akara, nothing there. Doing the kartṛtva, but then the anticipation and expectations that we set ourselves up to, if it matches, leads to one set of problems. If it doesn't match, then it leads to another set of problems. And all lifelong what we are doing is that externality wherein we are trying to fix that the problems that we have created, generated with our own intelligence. Now if our intelligence which has to bring viveka is not bringing viveka but bringing aviveka, then all the perception that is created, the anxiety that is created, it is AI generated. Because intelligence has to generate viveka. If it has generate aviveka, then it has to be artificial. So our projection is because of that ignorance. We have not cognized our own true nature. Starting from the reflected, we have assumed ourselves to be, and thereby we set ourselves to constant disappointments. Because that is how we have functioned. Dehendriyaguṇānkarmāṇyamale. Starting from the ajñāna. So for the two branches of vasana and karma, what is the root cause? The root cause is our own ignorance of our own true nature. You cannot just say ignorance. That will not give any clarity. It has to be the complete sentence. Ignorance of our own true nature, wrongly assuming ourselves as the limited entity and borrowing that limitations from each layer of the organ or the indriya and extending it to the vastu, further limiting and then creating a final cocoon of expectations and living frustratedly suffocated and then complain to Bhagavan, why have you created such a miserable world? Therefore, Bhagavan has to say, please stop. Look at his hand also. Please stop. Don't blame me. If you blame me, I will use the astra shastra. When that frustration increases, this is one of the most frequently asked questions. Nobody wants to create bad cuisine, bad food. But if my experience is that the entire creation is so miserable, why has God created such a misery? Misery is because of swayam apadita, is because of our own superimposition after the ignorance. Then we superimpose. So if that misery has to be removed, what has to be corrected? The correction that has to happen is in svadhyaya. Svadhyaya, first meaning is the satsanga where we get to hear, where we get to read, where we get to analyze and understand. The second meaning of svadhyaya is swasya adhyayanam. To study oneself and observe oneself constantly. Where exactly am I functioning from? Is it from the Rajasic, Tamasic, Rajasic and Sattvic? Which layer am I expressing from? Which identification? Is it at the intellectual level? Is it at the emotional level? Is it at the gross physical level? Sometimes completely disconnected with it, only in imaginations and memory. Which layer am I identified? Identified as what? The moment you observe, stop trying to beat yourself up. फिर से गलती हो गई. Again I missed it. Sometimes it happens when you have to come to this. It is so narrow. After you take, you're coming from either Rajbhavan or from Amirpet, you turn right, and there is no clear clarity as to which side of the road. There are pillars in between. If you happen to be pushed by the traffic to the extreme right, you end up taking the flyover. And as you take the flyover, you see that side of the road and you say, I should have been there. Okay. You get down, start beating your chest and start crying. Ayyo, I had to be there, I am here. Is that going to be a solution? Usually, in the vehicle, there is one person who is like that. Thankfully, that person is not the driver, and the driver keeps reassuring. 2 minutes down this flyover, we will turn around and make a U-turn. Unless we U-turn, unless the turn happens within, there is no other way. Anyatha sharanam nasti. There is no other way possible. Just because we have slipped, don't beat yourself. Yes, it has happened. Remember it. Now what is the next step to do? Take the corrective measures, take a U-turn and go back to that platform of unshakable stability within and function from there. Instead of functioning from the fleeting layers and the attachment to it. We'll stop here and continue tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kasyat Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor Ma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.